The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place. With my partner, Ian Parker, I am Brett Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
What's up, fight fans? It is Brett Okamoto and Ian Parker joining you from Salt Lake City, where you got Kamaru Usman, who I don't believe owns shirts anymore. He's just shirtless all the time. That was him at the official weigh-in here in Salt Lake. Leon Edwards looking championship ready for UFC 278, a title shot that he has waited a very long time for. He's excited to have it, of course, this week, and I'm excited to talk about it from a gambling perspective with my guy, Ian Parker, because I'm just going to jump to the chase right here, and obviously we're going to talk about this fight in detail, but I love this main event, man. I was a proponent of Leon Edwards. I was a guy, and I wasn't alone in this, but I was a guy who was saying, man, it's rough seeing Leon go through all this bad luck because I think he's really good, man. I think he could give Kamaru Usman problems. I'm not saying that I'm picking him for the upset, but you see some of these guys come in as welterweight challengers. Kamaru Usman, unbeaten, 15-0. I think Leon Edwards is a real problem for him.
I think it could be really competitive. His striking, and not just because he threw elbows and pads that I think went viral on social media, but this is a guy who's got unbelievable striking, good takedown defense. Could give him a little run for his money here. We're going to see.
Well, as you viewers know, we do this just about every week because the UFC schedule is very, very packed. And we did it last week, UFC Fight Night. Run us through your picks. Ian, how did you do in San Diego?
You know what? We went 2-3. Wasn't in love with that. A couple of interesting ones. You know, Lupi Goynez decided not to wrestle. She lost that one. But we hit Nina Nunes at plus money. Love that. Youssef Zalal. I'm sorry, we weren't 3-2. We were 2-2. Zalal was a draw, so not a loss right there. And Marlon Vera, you know, I thought it was going to be a decision. Dominic Cruz is usually very durable. Obviously, that kick sent him to the shadow realm. But you know what? We're going to get it done this week. Back in the plus money odds. Let's go.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you're disappointed if you took our best bet there in the main event, but you weren't disappointed with the highlight reel finish of Chito Vera. That was an amazing finish there in San Diego. Let's look at these early prelims. You can find them on ESPN, ESPN Plus, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. You got three of them there. Daniel Da Silva taking on Victor Altamirano. Aoki Long taking on Jay Perrin. Amir Albazi taking on Francisco Figueiredo, of course, the brother of the flyweight champion. So let's go to that flyweight bout. Daniel Da Silva taking on Altamirano, plus 150 for Da Silva, who is looking for his first win in the UFC. This might be one of those cases where he's fighting for his job.
You know what? I think he is. He absolutely is. I think as an underdog, there's some value there. Not that I love this fight from a betting standpoint as a whole, but I think Da Silva has the opportunity. He's got the speed. He does have the skills. He may pull it off. I'm going to roll the dice on him as the underdog.
Okay, so we're taking an underdog pick right out of the gate. Let's move on to Aoki Long, the Mongolian murderer, taking on Jay Perrin. This is kind of a fun fight and a close fight, as the odds suggest. Minus 140 for Aoki Long. What do you think of this one?
I like the Mongolian murderer, not because of the nickname, but his power is tremendous for this division. Jay Perrin gets hit a lot. This is a guy who's better on the ground, but he'd rather get in a firefight. That plays into the power. Let's go with the Mongolian murderer here.
That's interesting, too, because he started at flyweight, and now he's at bantamweight, lost his two fights at flyweight. Usually when a guy's coming up in weight, you're like, is he going to have the power? And you're saying he's got power at 135. Okay, let's wrap up the early prelims. Amir Albazi taking on Figueiredo. The last fight has some close odds. This one, not so much. Minus 500 for Albazi. What do you think of this one?
Crazy, because Figueiredo just came off a knee bar win, but Albazi is something special. Good prospect here. Has got a lot of tools, but Figueiredo is so hard to put away. So we're going to go over 2.5 rounds. Albazi's number, I think he's 4-1 as a favorite. We'll toss him in the parlay later, but for now, on a separate bet, over 2.5.
All right, teasing that parlay early, but for the prelim pick, we're going over 2.5 rounds, minus 150. Let's keep rolling with these prelims. The next set you can find on ABC as well as ESPN and ESPN Plus, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, local time. Marcin Tybura taking on Alexander Romanov. That is the featured bout. I'm excited to get your thoughts on that one, actually, because I think that's a big step up in competition from Romanov. Leonardo Santos still going strong, 42 years old, taking on Jared Gordon. You got Sean Woodson on the card. A lot of contender series people showing up on these mid-prelims, and that is where we started there with AJ Fletcher taking on Ange Lusa. Ange Lusa coming in 8-3, small underdog, plus 135. Fletcher 9-1, minus 160. What do you think of this one?
You know what? I really like AJ Fletcher as a prospect. I think Lusa's got skills. He's got talent. But if he doesn't get those leg kicks early, Fletcher has a lot of tools to win. He's exciting. He's strong. He's powerful. Good wrestling. Great knees. But what we saw in that last fight against Matthew Selmesberger, he was winning that fight. And when he tried to finish, he got tired. And then the experience of Selmesberger got the win. Fletcher, if that gas is good, He wins his fight. I believe he learns from that. We're going AJ Fletcher.
I like that, learning from something, because he's only 25 years old.
He's
and
young.
Semmelsberger is a quality opponent, so I look at that as kind of one of those, quote, quality losses. Let's keep it moving. Sean Woodson, he's a big-time favorite. Minus 340 against Luis Saldana. Both of these guys have had some success. Woodson 3-1 in the UFC. Does he keep it going as a minus 340 favorite?
You know what? I think he does. I think that reach, I think he's become a little bit smarter since that loss to Julian Erosa. You know, the IQ just getting better. He's pacing himself. We saw in that Zalal Youssef fight, he's just using the tools. A takedown defense was better. But I like over 2.5. I think Luis Saldana is a very tough guy, very durable, has got good ground skills. So we're going to see it go possibly to the distance on that one.
Okay, let's move to Jared Gordon taking on Leonardo Santos. Jared Gordon coming off of a loss to Grant Dawson. I think we're pretty high on Grant Dawson. Another one of those losses that you don't hold against him too much. He is a favorite here, minus 270 against Leonardo Santos. Kind of fun to see him on the same card as Jose Aldo, a longtime teammate of his. The guy's 42. He's coming off a loss to Clay Guida. Back-to-back losses. Can he get it done as a dog here against Jared Gordon?
You know what? I don't mind if anyone takes a flyer on him because these odds shouldn't be that far apart. And I like Jared Gordon's wrestling. I like his cardio. But, you know, Santos, when he starts early, he's got good power in that striking. I think he will be the better striker. And we know off his back, he's fantastic. Against Guida, he gassed out trying to finish it. And that's why he got subbed here. But for us, I don't see Gordon presenting those same threats that Guida did with the sub. So I'm going to say over 2.5 here. But if you guys want to take a flyer at Santos at those odds, I don't mind it.
Okay, I like that. And let's move on to the last prelim. You got Marcin Tybura taking on Alexander Romanov. Look, Romanov is 16-0. He's 5-0 in the UFC. He has not fought the best of the best, I would say, Ian. But, you know, maybe Marcin Tybura is not considered the best of the best. And clearly, the guys in Vegas who put together these odds, they think that Romanov is going to keep it going here in a big way. Minus 380, Tybura plus 300. Before he lost to Alexander Volkov, he had won 5 in a row. Are we getting a little out of hand with these odds, or do you think that they're appropriate here?
No, I think the odds are a little out of hand, but I do think Romanov is someone to keep an eye on. And look, he keeps getting leaner and leaner in each fight. We didn't see
the guy's losing weight every
It's
every
like he's
fight.
dropping
like
at 205 by accident.
You love to see it.
Because you know what? For his type of style, he's a wrestler. He's a ground guy. He uses that striking to close the distance. And for him in this fight, he's got someone, Tybura, who's very experienced. He's got great jiu-jitsu off his back. He's a good striker. So for a heavyweight fight, I know we're like a broken record here tonight, but over 1.5 rounds, I think Romanov is going to grind a little bit. I think Tybura is good enough to hold off.
Okay, so Ian thinking a lot of these prelims might go a little bit into the distance, and I love the pointing out the work that Romanov is doing is slimming down. By his 10th UFC fight, maybe he'll have all of those abs.
He'll be fighting at 45, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's look at this main card, which is really where I think a lot of the interest lies. Of course, you've got the main event, Kamaru Usman. If he's not your #1 pound-for-pound fighter, he's right there in the top 3. You can interchange some of those 3 guys. Taking on Leon Edwards, again, that's a fight I'm really looking forward to. Luke Rockhold coming back for the first time since 2019. And, man, the guy doesn't take any tune-up fights, does he? He goes for Paulo Costa, who is in a position where he needs a big win. You got Aldo on the card taking on Merab Davishvili. Wu Yanan, Lucy Pudilova, and Tyson Pedro, Harry Hunsucker. And that's where we'll start at light heavyweight, 205 pounds. Tyson Pedro coming in as a massive 800 favorite against Harry Hunsucker. Look, Tyson Pedro, another guy that we didn't see for a while because of some injuries. Then he came back. He looked good against Ike Villanueva. All love to Ike Villanueva. He's a guy that never gives up. But, you know, he was a big favorite there. Big favorite here. What do you think of a minus 800 against Hunsucker?
Listen, minus 800 is a big number. And Hunsucker is not winning. He's losing very quickly. And Pedro is a guy that, listen, there's a lot of high hopes for him. He is that prospect we've been waiting on. He was out for a while with injury. I think this is another smart fight to get him in there. Don't rush it too quickly because of the style of fighting for him. I think Pedro gets it done pretty quickly. I'm going to say by TKO or KO. That seems to be how Hunsucker continues to lose. Pedro's got some heavy hands. And I like to see him get it done quick.
All right.
Keep that train going.
Like to see him get it done quick. Let's go to the only female fight on this UFC 278 pay-per-view. It is Wu Yanan taking on Lucy Pudilova. Kind of an interesting fight in that Yanan has lost her last 3. Pudilova, you look at her overall record, 13-7, not extremely impressive. She's had a lot of success outside of the UFC, has not had a ton within the UFC. Obviously looking to turn that around in a big opportunity here. You get to be on the main card here in Salt Lake. Odds are close, minus 120 for Pudilova. How do you break down this fight?
I'm not going to do too much of a breakdown here, but for me, this is one of those fights where either don't touch it because it's so close, or if I had to put my money on it, I just think Pudilova's got more ways to win here. Too much of a losing streak for Yanan. I guess Pudilova if I had to do it, so we'll go that way.
I guess Pudilova. That is the bet. That is the bet for that main card bout. There for the females. All right, let's go to Jose Aldo taking on Merab Davishvili. Always a pleasure getting to see Aldo compete, man. He's won his last 3. He's looked pretty darn good in doing so. He's talked about his plan, coming into this week. He wants to win this fight against Merab Dvalishvili, win the championship, maybe even in Brazil in January if the timing could fall right, and then he wants to ride off into the sunset. Sounds like a great plan. I would love to see Aldo finish out his career like that. And you know what? For a long time, this guy was known for beating guys like Dvalishvili, stuffing the takedown and then putting him away on the feet. This is a 3-round fight, which I think is interesting. I would like to know who you think that benefits. But Merab Dvalishvili, man, we know what we get. We know what we're getting. Hard-nosed, grinding wrestler, good cardio, smart guy. A guy who's just got a lot of will right now, even though it's his buddy there at 135, and Aljamain Sterling says he won't fight him, but he really would like to win this fight, of course. How do you go about breaking this one down? Dvalishvili minus 140.
Look, you got Aldo, who's 35, going on 58, going on 28. This guy, just like he ages, he's been around forever, but he's starting to look really good again. It's the body combinations, the leg kicks are back. And the takedown defense, you're right. But he's never really fought a guy like Merab. I don't think there's been a Merab ever. This is someone who the nickname of the machine is true to form.
Yep.
A lot of guys, when they shoot him for takedowns, they get stuffed against the fence. They tire out trying to get that 3rd, 4th, 5th attempt. Merab doesn't get tired, and he gets it on that 3rd, 4th, 5th attempt. And if you get up, he takes you down again. I think with 3 rounds, this favors Merab. Can you imagine a pace of 5 rounds, him getting to do it in 3? I'm going to take Merab here. I just think the pressure is going to be too much. Aldo likes to wait. Can't wait on a guy with Merab.
Yeah, very good point. I tended to think that the 3 rounds would favor Aldo just because he is getting a little later in his career. We've seen with the weight cut, even when he was at 145 and now at 135, that maybe his best rounds didn't come late. But fighting a 3-round fight against a guy like Merab is like fighting a 5-round fight against anybody else. So we'll go to that co-main event. Paulo Costa taking on Luke Rockhold at 185 pounds. These odds are wide, Ian. Minus 370 for Paulo Costa, who is in need of a win here. He has come in and said that he doesn't know about what his fighting future. He's a little unhappy with his contract. He's made that very clear. But he needs to get a win here if he's going to continue to make those demands. He's lost his last 2, of course. Luke Rockhold coming in with a lot of fire, a lot of brimstone here at UFC 278. What do you think of this matchup? What do you think of Luke Rockhold's mindset? And then how do you try to bet it?
With Paulo Costa, it's interesting. You got a guy who made weight no problem because he's had weight issues, and then he talks about USADA knocking on his door. He's happy, he's angry, he's worried about his contract. But this is a guy who still has fought some solid competition. The fight against Yoel Romero, he stopped takedowns. He dropped him. He won that fight. And this is someone who's just big for the weight class, super athletic, fast. And I think with Luke Rockhold, and both guys coming off a little bit of a layoff, Luke Rockhold 3 years, Costa 1 year, I think this is a good matchup for Paulo Costa. I think he's favored on the feet, and if he can't get taken down and put on his back by Luke, I think that power and pressure is going to be too much. So I'm going to actually go 2 ways with this. Over 1.5 rounds, because I think Luke has to stay away from that power. And if Luke really wants to be here, he's got to either get the fight to the floor or fight from the outside and point his way to victory. But the other side of it, though, is that chin scares me. That Blachowicz knockout, the Romero knockout. It doesn't get easier as you get older, and the weight cut go from 205 back to 85. Costa by TKO or KO, but I think it happens later on into the fight. So over 1.5 is the big one, but Costa by TKO, KO I think happens as well. Yeah,
it's an interesting spot, man. I mean, Luke Rockhold was a favorite against Yoel. He was a favorite against Jan Blachowicz. And when you look back on that, you're like, you can understand it, but I think that maybe the line is a little too wide here, but I can't blame anybody because Paulo is looking very strong, and Luke Rockhold has had some problems as of late. I don't know how I feel about the long layoff. We'll see. I like the way you worded it. Does Luke Rockhold want to be here? I think we're going to find that out in this fight. All right. Main event, Kamaru Usman taking on Leon Edwards. It is a rematch of a fight that took place in 2015. Usman, the line movement on this has been pretty remarkable, Ian. It started at minus 300, bet all the way up to minus 400 for Kamaru. Money trickling in, getting that line back down to a little bit more of a more manageable minus 360. But Andrew Davis, our stats guy here at ESPN, he tells me that 93.4% of the handle is on Usman, while more tickets, of course, are being written on the underdog of Leon Edwards. But that, to me, says the smart money, the big money, that's going towards the champion. That man right there, Kamaru Usman. Where is your money going towards, Ian?
You know what? This is a tough fight. I think it's going to be more competitive than the line speaks. Kamaru Usman's someone that he started off his career as a wrestler. He used the striking-ish to get in there, take the fight to the floor, grind it out. And I believe the last 3 out of the last 5 fights, he's won by knockout. He's getting really comfortable with his hands. He's becoming a little bit of a boxer. He's talking about fighting Canelo. But if he stands in kickboxes with Leon Edwards could win this fight, as I think he's actually the better, more precise striker. But I don't see that happening. Usman's a very smart guy. He knows where he's at. So for me, I like Usman to win here by decision. I also think this fight goes over 4.5 rounds. Pay a little bit more just in case it doesn't go the full distance here. But this is going to be a fun one. I'm very curious to see how Kamaru takes this.
Yeah. I think that there will be some exchanges in this fight. We'll have to see. We know that Kamaru Usman, if he can plant a guy against the fence and hold him and control him, take him down, he is very content with doing that. We'll see if Leon can defend that. I think he will, but the proof will be in the pudding come Saturday night. All right, you've teased your parlay previously, and of course, we all know this is my favorite part of the show. I love the parlays. What else are we putting on this Parker parlay this week?
All right, well, look, it's not the sexiest with odds, only plus 113 because we got some heavy favorites here, and I just want to not have to rely on the props. We're going to Costa, Pedro, Romanov, and Albazi all to win. Only plus 113. So I understand if people might be a little hesitant, not a big payout, but to get all those favorites at even money, we're going to take that. Now, we're going to go back to the long shot parlay. We haven't hit it yet, but we've come pretty close. So we're going to go with De Silva plus Pudilova plus Usman by decision at plus 725. The last 2 times, we only missed it by 1 leg. I think we get it this time, I hope, and if we do, then that other parlay at plus 113 looks a little bit better.
That's pretty remarkable. I mean, let's be honest. The long shot parlay, it's kind of for fun, and it's kind of, hey, if you hit it, great, but it's kind of for fun. The fact that we've done it, twice, and missed it once, or missed it
by 1.
Missed it by 1 both times, that thing is going to hit. I think it's going to hit this weekend. All right, let's finish things off here. We got the parlays out of the way. What are your best bets for UFC 278?
Let's start off with the bottom part. AJ Fletcher. I just think he's got more ways to win. If he's worked on that cardio, I really think he gets it done here. Tabora Romanov. Come on, Marcin Tabora. Be durable and don't get sub too early. Over 1.5 there. I am going Merab here. The machine, that pace, that pressure, I think is going to be too much for Aldo. We're also going to go Costa and Rockhold. Over 1.5. I think Luke has to play that first round smart. And also, we have seen Paulo Costa hesitant sometimes and waiting. Last but not least, I really love over 4.5 in this fight. Both guys super durable, a lot on the line here. I think it goes the whole distance, and that's going to be our best bets. We're going 5 again this week.
All right. Well, we've given you a lot to think about here. One final thing to have you speak on, Ian, and I hate to do it because I just started off the program by saying I think Leon Edwards could be a real problem for Kamaru Usman, but we could be in the process of seeing, over the next 2 months, a fight come together between Kamaru Usman and Khamzat Chimaev. What do you think the line would be for that fight?
Oh, I love when you do this to me, and I hate it at the same time. I think Kamaru Usman will have to be the favorite. If he wins this fight, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to say minus 180. I just think because Chimaev is going to get a tremendous amount of respect through the domination, the fight with Gilbert Burns, so we saw the striking, and Usman, outside of Colby Covington, is there a wrestler that will be able to not get taken down and could possibly take down Kamaru Usman? It would be Khamzat Chimaev. So, and if Usman's minus 180, I'll take that right now.
Hey, I'm telling you, something to think about here because, Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz will have their say. But if Usman wins, if Chimaev wins and that fight gets put together, that's going to be a huge one to talk about and a big one to talk about from a betting perspective. All right, that is it from us from beautiful Salt Lake City. Is UFC 278. You got a ton of prelims on ABC, and you got a 5-fight main card headlined by arguably the greatest fighter in the world right now, Kamaru Usman taking on Leon Edwards. Enjoy it. Goodbye.